morning, everyone. Today, I wanted to talk about 7 reasons why you may be having trouble ditching coffee. So, first of all, welcome to my backyard. I know this is little bit of a different background for you. So, trying something new. Hopefully, the noises back here won't be too much of a distraction. All right, so why are you having trouble ditching coffees? What are the potential reasons? Well, the first reason is it's part of your routine, right? One reason why cold turkey often fails is because it ignores routine. Now, you might recall from my video on why change fails is that it isn't aligned with our goals and our values. Now, seemingly the benefit of going cold turkey is that it at least seems initially like it's a quick and an easy solution. And it does work for some people. Now, that's probably due to the fact that they either have a really strong motivation or that would be those goals that we talked about, the strong goals that they have, or they lack the addiction component. They just don't have, they're not strongly addicted to any of the things that we're going to discuss a little bit later on. So, what are some of the negatives then? Um, the negatives associated with trying to do cold turkey, the biggest one is that it just has a high failure rate. This is probably because people are either missing the flavor of coffee, maybe they're missing the routine that they have with coffee, or they're just missing having a warm drink in the morning. What are possible solutions to this? Well, the best possible solution that I can recommend is substitution in this case. Substitute another habit for this coffee habit. And I'm not saying add another bad habit for this habit that you're trying to break, but it could be a habit that's either neutral or even a habit that does work towards your goals. So, for example, that might be bone broth, right? If you like a particular flavor of bone broth, then that could be helping you to avoid missing the flavor of coffee. In addition, bone broth is something that you can warm up in the morning and drink from a cup. So that sort of meets the needs for the routine, and it's also something warm, so it's providing you that hot beverage that you may be missing in the morning. So what's another reason why we are not able to give up coffee? Well, another reason is caffeine addiction. So we all know that caffeine is addictive, and for people who drink a lot of coffee, it can be particularly problematic to break that habit. So what's the solution here? One solution is diluting the coffee back. Over time, you would pour smaller and smaller cups of coffee and dilute it back with more and more hot water. Some people may not like this. An alternative solution to this may be to start by diluting the caffeine in your coffee. You can try brewing, say, a combination of caffeinated and decaffeinated grounds. And then once you're completely decaffeinated, then you can either try diluting the coffee, the decaf coffee, or if you don't want to do that, that's when you can try that other thing, which would be substitution, because you're no longer addicted to the caffeine. The third reason why you're struggling to get rid of coffee is dairy addiction. Yeah, your coffee is secretly just a vehicle for conveying milk or half and half or cream. So what's the solution here? Well, one solution might be to try adding protein to your coffee. You might try adding an egg instead of dairy, or even a tablespoon of a collagen or a collagen creamer might be able to help. Now, you could try adding an egg to some bone broth. That also might be an option if you want to do the substitution and get some protein at the same time. The benefits here are that the high satiety from the protein of the egg or the collagen, without this combination of the sugars that come with dairy and that combination of fat and sugars, may help you to get away from the dairy. There is something about this combination of fat and sugar and protein all together in dairy which tends to encourage more hunger, and it could be because of additional things in the dairy. But for now, we could just say, these things in dairy do tend to trigger the overconsumption of more dairy when you consume it. Some people just have a hard time breaking that dairy habit, and they have an easier time when they either substitute or use a macronutrient like protein instead of the fats and the sugars that are found in dairy. Which ties into the next reason why you're struggling to get off coffee, and that is the sugar or the sweetness addiction. Your coffee has become a vehicle for conveying your favorite sugar or honey or artificial or natural zero-calorie sweetener. A solution here is to try that bone broth. Try substituting bone broth, but make sure you're adding some salt to it. Why does the salt substitution work? So sometimes cravings for salt in our brains are actually perceived as cravings for sugar or carbs, and that's because that sugar and carbs are also a part of the mechanism that our body uses to balance our electrolytes. Yes, these could actually be cravings for electrolytes or the need of your body to balance electrolytes. Now, we know that carbohydrates spike insulin, and we know that carbohydrates are water-philic, right? They bind up water, lots of water in our body. That's why they're called carbohydrates. And this spike of insulin that does come with the consumption of carbohydrates actually compels the body to hold on to more electrolytes in the form of salt. So if you're a little bit deficient in your electrolytes, and especially in the morning when that's a natural thing, some bone broth might actually help there, and adding a little sea salt to it might help a little more. And that ties into my next reason why you can't quit coffee, and that's hydration. Now, what's actually going on is you're just thirsty in the morning and you need to hydrate. And remember that half of hydration is fluid, the other half is electrolytes. And the act of maintaining hydration in your body is to balance these two things. So again, the solutions in this are things that we've already talked about. We've discussed bone broth. We've talked about warm water with a little sea salt. You can try water with an electrolyte powder, though, so that's also an option. There's many electrolyte powders or even electrolyte solutions on the market, and I can link to some of those below if you have an interest in those. The other reason, or another reason, why you may not be able to ditch coffee is hunger. I did mention previously why this use of protein and why that might help with dairy addiction. And here's the details on that. Maybe you're just hungry, and coffee has become a vehicle for, well, let's just say non-optimal calories in the morning. Also, coffee is a well-known appetite suppressant, so if you're adding a lot of fat or even sweeteners, sorry about the dogs, or you are even maybe using this as maybe you're just using coffee as a breakfast substitute or an appetite suppressant, or a little bit of both. So what are the solutions here? Well, my first solution is just eat something, right? Have an actual breakfast. You could have it with a little bit of water to help with that hydration if that's also an issue. You could try having bone broth or a hot bone broth with an egg blended into it that I mentioned previously. That's will help if part of your routine is having something to drink, then that can help both meet the needs of a breakfast and protein, which provides satiety, but you're also getting something warm, part of your routine, It's a comfort then, and it fits well with your current, let's just say, values, and those values are that routine, right? As well as you're actually hungry a little bit, so you need to eat something. And what's the last reason? Well, it's planning. Now, as I mentioned previously in my video about why change fails, you don't have a solid plan for trying to wean yourself off of coffee, and that's why it's failing. Fortunately, you can try one or all of the solutions I previously mentioned. If you don't know what part or parts plural of coffee that you're actually addicted to, maybe it's the routine, maybe it's the caffeine, maybe it's one of the other things I mentioned. Trying these different solutions out can help you narrow in on what part of coffee is keeping you tethered. And trying one or all of these solutions to see what your body is actually needing or craving or addicted to in terms of that coffee will help you figure out which strategy will work best for you, or even which combination of strategies. Don't be afraid to combine some of these things as we previously mentioned. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. A little bit different format and different location, obviously, but I hope this was helpful. These are the 7 reasons why you're not able to break your coffee addiction. Do you have any other ideas that might be helpful? Mention them in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. So if you enjoyed today's information, I provide information just like this to my clients to help improve energy, burn fat, and build muscle through an ancestral lifestyle and diet. My program doesn't involve gimmicks like bars and shakes, counting points, tracking macros, or even spending hours and hours doing cardio in the gym. Now, I've not only used this program to help clients improve well-being and health, but I also used it as a part of my own personal transformation. So if you're looking for an easy, intuitive way of eating and simple lifestyle adjustments to improve your well-being, then click on the link in the description below to book your free no obligation discovery call today.